Let's talk about Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation. Now, you'd think having so many young people would be this incredible advantage, right? But for millions of young Nigerians, it's actually become a crisis of desperation. We're going to dive into what happens when a nation's greatest asset feels like it has no future at all. Okay, so this whole story, it really boils down to one huge eye-popping number, 58%. That's right, more than half of Nigeria's massive population is under the age of 30. Experts call this a youth bulge, and on paper, that sounds amazing. It should be an incredible engine for growth. But the reality on the ground, it tells a totally different and much, much tougher story.
All right, so first up, let's just really get a handle on this demographic picture.
And this right here, this slide just perfectly captures the paradox we're talking about. On one hand, you have a median age of just 18. Think about that, a country just buzzing with youthful energy. But then you look at the other side. Nigeria ranks 172nd out of 183 countries when it comes to youth development. I mean, that's not just a gap, you guys. That is a massive chasm between all that potential and any real opportunity.
And that huge disconnect, it leads us straight to the heart of the problem, a profound crisis of economic opportunity.
So check out this data from a 2024 survey. It shows that nearly a quarter, that's 1 in 4, young Nigerians are out of work and actively looking for a job. And that's a higher rate than for older folks. The very generation that should be powering the economy is the one being left on the sidelines.
Okay, so given all that, how do young people feel about how the government is handling things? Honestly, these numbers are just wow. They're staggering. Only 6% of them approve of the government's job on creating work. And when it comes to keeping prices down, which is their number one worry, that approval rating plummets to just 2%. This is way beyond just being unhappy. We're talking about a complete and total breakdown of trust.
And when you have that kind of breakdown in trust, what follows? Deep, deep pessimism. I mean, look at this. A whopping 91% think the country's headed in the wrong direction. Nearly 3/4 say their own living conditions are bad. And 86% feel that way about the entire national economy. The message couldn't be clearer. For them, the system is broken.
So this all leads to a really important question, right? When all the normal ways to get ahead, all the official paths to success are basically blocked, what do? Where do you even begin to turn for hope or even just for survival?
Well, that desperation has given rise to something many are calling the get-rich-quick syndrome. It's this social crisis that's really born from pure economic despair.
And right at the center of this is something called Yahoo Yahoo. It's basically a catch-all term for all kinds of internet scams, where young people, sometimes called Yahoo boys, use fake online profiles to trick people out of their money. It's like when the legitimate doors are closed, you find a digital backdoor.
And if you're wondering about the why, well, you don't have to look far. This quote from a young person caught up in it just says everything. Man must whack and chop. It's a local saying. It just means you gotta eat. You have to survive. In their minds, it's the last option, a way to help ourselves when it feels like nobody else will.
But this is where things take an even darker, more disturbing turn. In the search for any kind of advantage, some are mixing these digital scams with ritual practices. They call it Yahoo Plus. The belief is that it will magically make their scams more successful, and unbelievably, it has been linked to a terrifying spike in actual ritual killings.
So it's probably no surprise that technology, and social media in particular, plays this huge and often pretty sinister role in this whole mess. So researchers have actually looked into this, and they've pinpointed a major hub for these activities. A study from 2022 found that out of all the social media platforms out there, it turns out Facebook was the #1 platform used by these scammers to find and con their victims. And it gets worse. Social media isn't just the place for the crime. Sometimes it's the instruction manual for the darkest parts of it. This quote is from a news report about a real case, and it's just chilling. Young men who were arrested for a ritual killing said they learned how to do it after seeing the steps on Facebook. Just let that sink in. That's the terrifying point where something that happens online bleeds into unimaginable real-world violence. Now, for the young people who don't turn to crime, that crisis of opportunity is pushing them toward another drastic step: just leaving. A complete exodus of hope. Get this, a staggering 60%. That's 6 out of every 10 young Nigerians. They've thought about emigrating, just packing up and moving to another country. And this isn't just some vague feeling that's always been there. It's a crisis that's getting worse, and fast. Look at this timeline showing the percentage of young people who have given leaving a lot of thought. In 2017, it was 12%. Fast forward to 2024, and that number has shot up to 37%. It's more than tripled. The desperation to get out is just exploding.
So why the rush for the exits? It all circles right back to where we started. Just look at the top reasons. 45% want to find a job. Another 39% want to escape poverty. You combine those two, and that's 84% of them. It's all about that fundamental lack of opportunity we've been talking about.
And all of this leaves us with one last, really tough question. A country's future is its young people, right? So when that future generation feels like their only choices are to turn to crime or just leave entirely, what's left? What happens to the country they're forced to leave behind?